Would the board consider changing the program to help those struggling to achieve, whether they are black, white, or another race, and simply assist the lowest achievers and or those in greatest social economic need?
Why can't we see a Black History flick or something for Islamophobia? Muslims.
There are reports of young students in elementary school wearing spaghetti straps or none at all.
And I apologize, it's hard to speak over that.
Though parents have the right to ask questions and express our concerns regarding our children's education.
This board needs to stop dividing groups and stop the discriminatory practice of flying special interest flags that favor one group instead of unifying all kids.
You may recall that we recently paid a visit to the Durham District School Board, one of the worst school boards in Ontario. And believe me, folks, that's saying something these days. The DDSB is so awful because it is mostly staffed by ideologues and, for that matter, censorious thugs. How censorious? Well, if they don't like a parent's question, they mute the microphone. If they don't care for what the parents are saying in the gallery, they stop the live stream. And as Lincoln Jay and I found out last Monday, this board does not allow the media to record the proceedings. Here, check out the reception we received from security.
I've never been to a publicly funded school board in which the media have been told no cameras. I mean, why would they be so censorious this way?
I don't have the answers for you. Those is what I was told. And any further action that you want to take, please contact the DDSB.
Now, the most contentious bylaw to be voted on last Monday was 5.3.15. If passed, this would severely limit parental free speech when asking questions. Thus, the board might determine a parent's query to be a violation of human rights legislation vis-a-vis sexual orientation or gender identification, and thus the query would not be permitted. Now, the good news is that this proposed bylaw was not ratified last Monday. The bad news is that it might still get passed in the months ahead. Like I said, this board is stacked with control freaks who absolutely hate concerned parents. You know, the beleaguered taxpayers who pay their salaries. In any event, we did obtain 5 video clips regarding what happened at the DDSB on Monday. And again, the contempt this board has for parents is downright shocking. First up was Trish Conlon. She had a query, but because it offended the sensibilities of Donna Edwards, the chairperson, well, par for the course, Conlon was silenced and then later frog-marched out the building by security.
This board needs to stop teaching hate. They are teaching false gender ideologies that's causing an epidemic of
Okay, I am going to, I have cut you off because this is longer than the question that you had submitted to be provided.
Next up was Jessica Wilkins. She asked a question about the new dress code, which is to say, well, there really are no standards anymore at the DDSB when it comes to dress codes. Gee, maybe they are trying to recruit Busty Lemieux from Halton District. In any event, Superintendent Gary Crossdale says the old dress codes were too moralistic and the DDSB must meet obligations not to be harmful to certain groups.
Why have dress codes been removed from schools? Was this a board decision? What has removing dress codes for elementary students accomplished on an academic level? Is my description of how some students are dressing an acceptable way to dress for a job?
Okay, it's one question.
Are we promoting self-respect in regards to attire in public schools?
You're allowed to ask.
The DDSB dress code policy was last updated in 2020. This policy informs the district procedure for school-level dress codes. The previous dress code policy could sometimes be difficult to apply, uphold, or defend without relying on subjective or moralistic arguments or calls to authority.
Next up was a gentleman named Noor. He was concerned that the aforementioned bylaw 5.3.15 will severely limit free speech. The board's legal eagle actually defended the censorship based on, yeah, you guessed it, human rights legislation and a legal precedent.
The introduction of this new policy will limit free speech and give the school board and trustees the discretion to decide which concerns are valid and which are not. This is not right, and it goes against the principles of transparency and accountability that we expect from our public education system.
The recent decision of the Ontario Divisional Court from May 1st, Ann Gillies versus the Blue Water District School Board, the Ontario Divisional Court has provided some guidance on the matter. It was a very similar situation, very similar bylaw to our bylaw, including the proposed amendments, where the board had the authority to vet questions and to refuse them if they ran contrary to the board's human rights policy and objectives as set out in the Education Act. And in that case, what the court said was that in that case, the board did concede that the rights to freedom of expression as guaranteed by Section 2B of the Charter were infringed by the board's decision to refuse to permit the applicant to make her presentation to the board.
Next up was Mario, who was concerned by a race-based plan to assist struggling Black students. Mario asked, why should such a worthwhile program be limited to one race? Why can't it be extended to all struggling students? Why not create a level playing field for everyone? But no, Superintendent of Education Margaret Lazarus essentially stated this is an inclusive program, even though it excludes most students.
Would the board consider changing the program to help those struggling to achieve, whether they are Black, white, or another race, and simply assist the lowest achievers and or those in greatest social economic need?
The graduation program is a program that's funded by the ministry, and they give the parameters of the program, and one of which is that it must serve historically marginalized communities, of which we have the Indigenous community and the Black community that the programs are created for.
Finally, check out our fifth video clip. It was from a gentleman, I did not get his name, but he was asking about the multiple raising of the LGBTQ, et cetera, flag at the schools in Durham District each year. He received a somewhat milquetoast answer. This angered the parents, so of course, another premature recess was called.
The group that you're referring to that has a flag up, the Indigenous community, the Black community, the Jewish community, the Muslim community has been marginalized much longer than this group. So why don't they at least have one, a flag, whereas you're putting the flag up for a group that hasn't been marginalized as long?
Flags are simply one strategy. We work very closely with our various community partners. And I apologize, it's hard to speak over that.
Naturally, there were fully armed police officers at the meeting, ready and willing to arrest those parents who did not bend the knee to the security guards, aka the thought police. And I don't mean to be rude here, but when is Stephen Lecce, Minister of Education, going to finally grow a spine and do something about these rogue, out-of-control school boards? Or is Lecce fine with control-freak school board trustees promoting a woke agenda while treating parents like petulant children or even downright criminals? Because it sure seems that way to me. Folks, you know we love to bring you the other side of the story, even when we go up against censorious thugs like the ones at the Durham District School Board. Please, if you can help support our brand of journalism, go to rebelfieldreports.com. That's rebelfieldreports.com. And if you can, kindly make a donation. Thank you.